the problem, as I've always said, is not this greed and not the anger. It's the delusion. It's our ignorance, our inability to understand the situation. The fact that we don't see that we have these, or we don't see the problem with these things. The fact that we don't understand these things as they are. If we actually look at them, accept that they're there, and take a look at our lust, take a look at our desire, take a look at our anger, take a look at our aversion, our frustration, our boredom, our depression, look at it, and simply see it for what it is. Then we'll be able to become, only then will we be able to become free from it. So rather than worrying about these things or what other people think of us or anything, let us just, he said, all you have to do is train your mind, straighten your mind, as we were talking about before. But here he uses the word to tame the mind, or to train the mind. And then he said this verse, he said, the mind is difficult to restrain and flighty, lighting upon whatever it desires. The taming of the mind is good. The tamed mind brings happiness. That's the verse. And then the story goes that as a result, he did go back and became enlightened as a result. So for our practice, I think it's quite obvious, and it's quite obvious in this example as to the importance or the meaning of this verse. That yes, this is the case. The mind will run after its desires. It will run after what it wants. If it wants, or if it wants something, then it will chase after it. And the commentary here has something interesting to say. It says, so much so that it won't worry about its reputation. It won't worry about what is right or what is wrong. It won't worry about things like, in the case of lust, someone else's wife, someone else's husband. It won't worry about things like someone else's possession. It won't worry about suffering for oneself. It won't worry about suffering for others. If one is angry, even though one knows that one is hurting oneself, one will kick things and punch things, punching the wall and causing great suffering to oneself. This is the meaning of the word yatha kama nipati. Whatever it wants, no matter what, whatever the defilements lead one to, it will go there no matter what, in complete disregard for what is right or wrong. So this is why we see infidelity, and this is why we have theft, this is why we have murder, this is why we have suicide, all of these things, because of our desires and our aversions, and our inability to control them. So rather than control them, the Buddha says to train the mind, to see them clearly, to see them as they are. This is the word vipassana, just to see them for what they are, because you can't, the Buddha says you can't restrain the mind, you can't tie it down and stop it from going these things. It's lahu, the word is lahu, which means light or flighty, like a bird. These words are actually what you would use to talk about a bird. The last time we had a fish, now we have a bird. It's like a bird because it lights on whatever it wishes. If it doesn't like it here, it will go there. If it doesn't like it, it will go here. As soon as something scares it, it will be gone. This is the mind. You can't catch it. It's not a physical thing that you can put in a cage. If it were the body, you can tie the body up. No, you can cover your mouth. You can plug your ears. You can close your eyes. You can stop up your nose. You can stop. The body you can stop. But the mind you can't stop. No matter if you do all of these things, the mind will still escape to cause you endless grief and suffering. In fact, if you do such a thing, you'll find, for most people, they just go crazy as a result. This is the funny thing, because you think you can control it, and the more you try to control your mind, maybe you try to take medicine. Some people, when they have headaches or when they're thinking too much, they'll take pills or drugs, and the more you take them, the worse it gets. And the more wound up the mind becomes. So the more you try to tie the mind down, the more of a problem your mind becomes. So the Buddha taught us to train the mind to see clearly. This is in the last one we were talking about straighten the mind. But the word tame here, or dhamma, or danta, this means making the mind like a trained animal, like a horse or a buffalo or something that is trained and understands what is the important thing to do. So teaching the mind to understand what is of its benefit, what is of its own benefit, and what is to its detriment. Understanding the anger, understanding the greed, seeing it for what it is. So this is very much a reminder to us that the untrained mind is the cause for all of our suffering. And it's simply by training the mind that it leads to happiness. The first kind of happiness, of course, that it leads to is that it helps us to overcome suffering. So as these monks said, it was the untrained mind that had greed, that had anger, that had delusion, that had opened up the hells in front of them. They could even see in front of them that if they were to just follow their desires, follow their aversions, it's open like the doors of their own house with a big welcome mat in front. This is what they said. So the training of the mind, the taming of the mind, stops that. It stops the mind from exploding. It stops the mind from going insane. It stops the mind from following after desires and aversions and causing so much suffering. We can see it even by when people get angry, they kick things and they punch things, as they said, or they hurt other people. How we destroy our lives. Even in this world, you can understand how training the mind, taming the mind brings happiness. Even in the family, the untrained mind, amongst family, friends, at work, if you talk to anyone about their job situation and how it's going, almost anyone in the world will be able to tell you about the fighting and the politics that goes on at work. And then if you ask people about their home life, most people nowadays, because of the nature of our minds and our desires and everyone's conflicting desires, the anger and the fighting and the harsh words, even the abuse that goes on as a result of our untrained minds, how people, even though they want to find happiness and they want others to be happy as well, they will end up bringing great suffering to both themselves and to others. This is all from the untrained mind. If we begin to practice meditation and then we consider our own lives, because of the stability of mind that comes and the ability to reflect clearly on where we've come from, we'll be able to see the suffering that we've been causing in our lives. It become quite clear to us where all of our suffering comes from, and it'll become clear to us that we were much suffering that we didn't even realize, and we thought we were living in great peace and more or less lying to ourselves. Once you begin to practice meditation, you start to all of this comes up, and much guilt about all of the things that you've done to hurt others when you were just avoiding it the whole time and pretending it didn't exist. And now, as your mind starts to calm down, you get to see everything that's in there. So for someone who's practiced meditation, this is a clear teaching that it is the trained mind, the tamed mind, the straightened mind that brings happiness. Thank you all for tuning in, and see you again next time.